Welcome to Back from the Abyss. This is a place for stories of hope and healing, recovery, and redemption. I'm Dr. Craig Heacock. There are still a few spots left in my intensive psychotherapy workshop in June, geared for psychiatric NPs and PAs. It's called Bringing Therapy into Med Management. It will run June 3 through 6 here in Fort Collins. This is a chance to learn how to break out of the short-sighted and terribly limited med management model into a more holistic, psychodynamic, and patient-centered way of practicing. Check out my website for more details and registration. This solo episode today is a little bite of the workshop that I do with Hillary McBride, which is called I Love You, I Hate You, Are You My Mom? If you are a mental health clinician and you find this stuff compelling, you should definitely join Hillary and me at our next workshop, which will be in Chilliwack, British Columbia, just outside of Vancouver, June 18th through 20th. See my website for more info and registration. And now, the hidden minefield of positive countertransference. So one of the ongoing instructions for therapists is that we need to try to do the work. Therapists got to do their own work. But what does that mean? What is the work? Does it simply mean that therapists should go to therapy and or have ongoing consultation? Well, I say yes, it does in part mean this. But I'm going to argue here that doing the work means something much deeper and more specific. It means understanding what lies in our shadow, recognizing how we each are individually predisposed to being shut down or lit up, and knowing what kinds of patients have our number, and accordingly are going to predictably yank us out of our very professional state of quietly regulated, compassionate curiosity. In September of 24, I did an episode with Dr. Erin Jacqueline. It was called How Do You Learn to Do Psychotherapy? And in this wonderful interview, Erin introduced the metaphor of the therapist as a jar. The autonomically regulated, peaceful, compassionate, and curious therapist has all of their stuff at the bottom of the jar. The water's clear and unperturbed, and all is good. And what is this stuff at the bottom of the jar? This stuff that's at constant risk of being stirred up and muddying the peaceful waters. It's basically a mix of the therapist's shadow, their eros, and their identities. It's the muddy substrate of the therapist's negative countertransference, along with the sparkly crystals of the therapist's positive countertransference, all lying in wait for that next patient to stir up the stuff. Now, everyone wants to feel good. Patients want to feel good. We therapists want to feel good. Who doesn't want that? When patients stir up our negative countertransference, most commonly by saying or doing or embodying something that was forbidden in our own family of origin, it doesn't feel good. We are no longer a clear and peaceful jar of therapy potential. We get stirred up and clouded with judginess, or righteous indignation, or protective boredom, or even contempt. We pull away and shut down, or maybe we even move toward the patient to engage in attack. We lose our quiet, thoughtful objectivity, and consequently, our minds, in this righteous haze of our clouded jars. But how wonderful, how desirable, how perfect to feel enlivened by our patients, to be flooded with admiration and wonder at who our patients are, what they bring to the relationship, how they make us feel, this surging life force energy as our patient literally lights us up with joy or wonder or even love. And who doesn't crave these brilliantly sparkly flecks of positive countertransference as they rise up out of the sludge at the bottom of the jar and turn the session into one great moment after another? Who doesn't want to shine? You could be my best friend, if only. Okay, maybe I'm getting a little over the top here, but you get the idea. We therapists tend to want more sparkle and less sludge. We want to really like and connect with and admire and even love our patients. And this reality comes with significant hidden risks. In our training, we are repeatedly reminded to watch out for negative feelings toward our patients. For these can obviously lead us to consciously or unconsciously harm our patients. But we are almost never told to watch out for our positive feelings. How do overly positive feelings or beliefs about a patient tend to get in the way? Well, I think we can break down positive countertransference into at least 3 major types: twinning, VIP, and erotic. And each of these types has its own particular hazards. So let's go through each type. Twinning refers to sharing key identities with the patient, and thus feeling a special sense of kinship and unspoken understanding. For example, I could be at serious risk of the twinning type of positive countertransference, say with a male physician patient in his 50s who happened to be a serious runner or cyclist and was struggling, let's say with some deep existential questions. With each additional shared identity, you might think that I would become an even better therapist for my 50-something runner doc, but actually, the opposite is true. The more I see myself and my patient, the more I might start to unconsciously fill in the blanks. I might stop seeing him as an infinite universe of mystery and more like a subtype of me. The reality of twinning countertransference means that in many ways, a therapist has it easier with someone who is quite different from them, who doesn't share many, if any, of the same identities. Yet ironically, patients often seek out therapists with their same key identities, thus making it more likely that their therapist will be blinded by the twinning countertransference. Twinning leads to the breakdown of non-reciprocity. The therapist begins to share more of themselves. There's more friendly back and forth. The therapeutic container slowly morphs into a coffee shop or living room. The patient increasingly checking in with the therapist. Well, how are you doing? How's your oldest? What's his name? Is he engaged yet? Oh, and how was the trip to Jackson Hole? Do you have any pics? Without non-reciprocity, the therapeutic relationship becomes just like every other relationship, and thus it loses its unique power and magic. Now, when you hear someone say, and I hear this all the time, my therapist, she's more like a friend now, you know just what has happened. That therapist started slipping into twinning countertransference, then lost the frame, dropped the ball. You can pick your favorite cliche here. This human need to see ourselves in each other and enter into reciprocity is a powerful connecting force, while also working at odds with the non-reciprocal frame of psychotherapy. A second category of positive countertransference is that of the VIP. Now, this could be a famous person, but most commonly and dangerously, it's typically someone who is a VIP to you in particular, not necessarily to everyone. This could be, say, the best friend of a current favorite patient, maybe a prominent person in your community, or even someone that you envy a little bit. My VIPs tend to relate to my central identities. For example, when I see a doctor or psychotherapist or a serious competitive runner, or, as happened to me a few years ago, a very well-known podcaster. Now, when this famous podcaster reached out to me during COVID, I was astounded. I was totally titillated. I was thrilled. I did not begin any of our sessions as the clear, calm jar. I was all sparkled up and ready to go. But I've often wondered, what questions didn't I ask her? What places did I fear to tread? What therapeutic possibilities did I not offer her by not showing up as that clear jar? I'm pretty sure she knew that I was wowed by her, and I'm actually really sad about that, and I'm even sorry. For with VIP patients, we often give them the worst care because we try to treat them specially, as opposed to simply treating them like regular people. For that's what they are, people. Speaking of thrilled and relieved, when I recently got back into therapy, I was thrilled that my therapist did not know anything about Back from the Abyss, nor had she heard of me. I was just her patient. I'm still just her patient, and it feels really good. But I have gotten her to listen to a bit of the podcast. So, what ulterior motives, what shadow stuff is really at work here for me? Okay, finally, I want to touch on erotic countertransference. A clarification to start. Erotic countertransference is very different from eroticized countertransference, which is a sexualized field and outside of the bounds of this talk. Erotic countertransference refers to being profoundly enlivened by the relationship with the patient. Erotic countertransference involves the Jungian conception of eros as a force of deep relatedness, of connection and wholeness, a kind of sparkling chemistry, not sexual per se, but of deep admiration and human-to-human love. When therapists talk about their favorite patients, they're often talking about the patients who stir up the sparkle of this Jungian eros. A 50-minute session can fly by in this glorious flow state when we're working in this state of erotic countertransference. And the patients, too, they bask in our expansiveness and our hyperfocus. Yet, as with the other types of positive countertransference, something can be lost amidst this admiration fest. The patient can consciously or unconsciously avoid difficult or shameful topics. They can pretend that they're doing really well when in fact they are not. They're falling apart. They can feel that the therapist is somehow invested in them continuing to co-create this luscious liminal state at the expense of actually seeing the patient. We might think of positive countertransference as like wearing rose-colored therapy glasses. With twinning, we hone in on what feels like a part of us and we magnify that. With VIPs, we put them on a pedestal, we give them special consideration and treatment, and ultimately we fail them. And with erotic countertransference, we're so energized and alive and hyper-engaged that we can miss what's actually happening. We see what we want to see and need to see to keep that magic flowing. How can we therapists know when our positive countertransference might be getting in the way? Some common signs include sharing personal details of your life without the patient asking for them, letting patients go over the allotted time, allowing boundary crossings and then not discussing them with the patient, becoming more aware of what you are wearing and your overall appearance, spending the therapy time allying with the patient against the quote-unquote third, such as the bad boss, the whiny spouse, the avoidant boyfriend. Also avoiding difficult affective states or steering away from hard topics like substances or sex or suicide or self-harm. Basically, we need to continually ask ourselves, what am I avoiding and why? If we aren't at least occasionally saying hard things, we probably are not doing our jobs. In sum, positive countertransference isn't necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It's much more about being mindful of its presence and how it might be affecting our ability to stay regulated, curious, brave, and boundaried. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks.